my name is Amanda, and this is my podcast, Amanda Makes. This is the 9th episode, and you can find all of the show notes on my blog. I will link to the blog in the description of the video below. And if you found me from the blog, I hope that you'll click through to YouTube and click the like button and or subscribe to my channel. I just wanted to follow up and touch base and all. It's been 2 weeks since I've done a podcast. Last week was spring break for my husband, and if you do follow along on the blog or Instagram, you will know that we were very, very busy with around the house chores. If you're not familiar, we bought a house that was built in 1994, and it was occupied and sold to us by an elderly couple who did a lovely job of maintaining the house as they could, but now we're in the process of remodeling a lot of it, cleaning a lot of it, taking a lot of it back from the wilderness because it is in the woods. So I spend a lot of my time fending off the wild, getting the yard that's pretty feral back in order, and then also trying to just enjoy the life that we have here and make it feel like home. So last week was all house chores, and then this week was trying to recover from last week, and now next week is going to be all house chores too, because I am hosting Easter for my family. So that's very exciting. I hope that if you don't follow along on Instagram or the blog, that you look me up and do that, because I think that Easter is going to be a lot of fun. I really love. I've never hosted a family function for my side of the family. I've hosted Julian's family, but I've never hosted my side of the family, and I've never gotten a holiday. So I'm excited about that. I don't know to what extent I'm going to really go all out and get out the china, get out that stuff. I don't know. We'll have to think about that. As I know more about whether or not I'm just going to have my parents, or if my brother and my sister-in-law are coming in too. So anyhow, I have rambled long about that, but let's just get into some talk about things I've gotten done, mostly things I haven't gotten done, things I want to do, and that sort of thing. First things first, I wanted to share a little bit about my visit that I had with a friend, Nelia Pulaski. She has a knit and crochet design business, and she designs really thoughtful patterns for headwear, things for kids, those sorts of things that aren't tremendous commitments of your time and yarn budget. She and I connected actually on Instagram through the hashtag Get Your Yarn Wishes Granted over the holidays, and found out after we'd already connected, and I go to send her the yarn that I was going to grant her wish for, that she lives an hour away from me. So she came into town to do a pottery class here in Farmville, and she made a yarn bowl, which was appropriate. And then she and I got together and spent the afternoon together, and we went to the yarn barn and spent some great time with Pat there. We posted about it, both of us posted about it on Instagram, and both of us got a little bit of yarn. Not a lot, but a little. So I just wanted to start by showing you, this is more of the Sestari yarn that I have talked about before. My fingerless mitts were made of this yarn, and also my conversationalist hat. It is Virginia, born and raised and milled and sold. So this is as close to I get right now, as close as I can get right now to local yarn for me. The only downside about it was that I got it from the yarn barn, and Pat said that the guy who owned it / worked there, I don't know, that she and the guy who worked there sort of had a falling out. And that he had been rather rude to her. And I'm thinking she was in agreement. If you are going to try to make it in this business, one thing you cannot be is rude. Not to your customers, not to your local shop owners. So, anyhow, this is lovely. It is natural color, natural gray brown color. It's DK weight, and I think what I'm going to do with it, especially since I was with Nelia when I bought it, is I'm going to work up one of her patterns. She has this great headband for cable knit headband, braided, kind of Celtic looking cable knit headband. The pattern is written in worsted weight, but I'm going to modify it for DK, and I think it's actually going to be a really flexible pattern because instead of being all the way around, it is fastened in the back by a button. So if it comes out a little bigger, a little smaller, I can tweak it and still have that flexibility to make sure that it fits. Another thing that's got me thinking about this in the headband pattern is that I told myself last year I'm going to not wait until November to do my Christmas knitting. So I think I'm going to actually get several headbands out of this one hank of yarn and get started on my Christmas knitting there. So that is a yarn acquisition, and then my only other acquisition from the Yarn Barn leads me right into what's on my needles, because I bought needles. I had been using some longer, I guess they're 8-inch, 2.25 8-inch long bamboo needles for my socks, and I knew that I wanted some shorter ones, but just hadn't gotten around to purchasing them, and the local shops here don't have that sort of thing. So I had to make it out to the Yarn Barn, which is completely local. It's just 30 minutes. I have to make up my mind to go, and because Pat does most of her business online, sometimes she's in the shop and sometimes she's not in the shop, and you never know when you're going to be there. So you have to give her a couple days heads up. So anyhow, I bought these little needles because I had come to a screeching halt in the heel of my sock. It had been going along fine, but I got to the point I got to the point where I was doing the IF partridge heel flap according to my pattern, and I realized that I did not have the mental capacity in the little times that I had to knit to sit down and keep track of a 4-row repeat. I'm not a very good note taker. Well, I take that back. I'm a very good note taker. I write notes, copious amounts of notes, on pieces of paper within an arm's reach of me at any given moment. And then I can never find that piece of paper again, or I flip it over and write the grocery list on the back of it, and so on and so forth. So I had this realization and then just never picked up my sock. Because I got this far while the bathrooms were under construction, and then when the bathrooms were not under construction anymore and I actually had my house back, I just couldn't keep the momentum because I had come to a screeching halt at the heel. Long story short, got these new needles, but then also had the realization that I needed a simpler heel. And I mean, it's the first sock I've ever knit ever. So I thought I kind of gave myself that grace to say, you don't need to do this IF partridge 4-row repeat, slip 1, knit 1, slip 2, blah blah. Just knit the darn sock. So right now I'm doing a short row heel, which is coming right along. When we do our reading at night in bed, Julian reads aloud and I knit. So stay tuned for progress on that guy. The needles are by Brittany. I don't know if you're familiar with the brand, but they say Brittany, made in Northern California of sustainably harvested domestic birch hardwood. So I like that they're made in the USA. And then also, I've never bought an itty bitty pair of sock needles, but it has a little card on the inside, and it says, this package contains 6 Brittany needles instead of 5. We understand that they're small and fragile and could easily be broken. We have included the extra needles so you won't have to worry about it. Sizes 0, 1, and 1.5 are no longer marked with the size because this sometimes creates a stress point where the needle could be easily broken. Please be careful not to get these mixed up in your knitting case. Contact us for replacement if 2 or more needles become damaged. So I thought that was a neat little card to have in there. $7 at the Yarn Barn. I never said anything about 2 or more needles being lost. So I need to figure out how I'm going to store those little puppies. Also on the needles is my Dream Bird shawl. And it is absolutely lovely in every way except back to that brain power problem that I'm having with the Eye of Partridge sock. So the Dream Bird shawl, if you're not familiar, is a shawl that is made in using short row triangles. It's wedge-shaped short row triangles around the body of the shawl, with the taper of the triangle being at the neck and the wider wedge part being at the bottom. And it's got feathers. So I'm using these two yarns. It's Knit Picks Chroma, and this one is Fog Bank, and this one is Weather Vane, and the yarn is stunning and a delight to work with, and I can't stop touching it. But the problem is that in the short rows, that the pattern says, you know, go this way, place marker, knit 5 stitches beyond the marker, wrap and turn, come back all the other way and knit 5 stitches before the marker, place a marker, wrap and turn, which in my head it makes sense. Okay, we're building a feather. It's going to be, you know, tapered on both sides. But the pattern calls for light colored markers and dark colored markers, and place a dark marker here and imagine a marker here. What? Imagine a marker here? We're not going to put a marker here because this circumstance, you know, we're not going to put a marker here because this circumstance is an exception to our marker rule. But imagine a marker here. What? So anyhow, the pattern has a diagram, a chart, and row by row written instructions. And I am going to have to lock myself in a closet someday and just work it out. Because I know, and everywhere it says, on the pattern it says, once you get yourself through the first feather, you won't have to worry about the rest. Just do the first feather and it'll all make sense. So I'm sitting here waiting for that easy peasy all make sense part. But I just need a little peace and quiet that my season of life is not giving me right now, because my peace and quiet time is you need to paint the bathroom because your mother's coming time. So anyhow, that is on the needles, and it's beautiful and lovely, and I love it, even though you're not probably seeing it in Instagram pictures and that sort of thing. The only other thing that's on the needles is the Land Agent mittens, and I don't think, nope, I don't have the right project bag in front of me. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Land Agent mittens. So the first round of mittens, the very first round of mittens came out too small, so ripped it back, made a second set. They came out so huge that it's like wearing oven mitts, even after I felted them. They're so huge. So I'm on my third round of the Land Agent Mittens. I think it's good. I hope it does grow a little bit when I block it, because the other, I mean, it's a perfect fit for me, but it needs to fit a man hand. And my problem earlier with the big oven mitt ones was that I knit it to fit a man hand, and then it grew when it was blocked. So I'm hoping now that it will grow when it's blocked, but then, you know, this is the ultimate problem of an experiment, right? Because I changed 2 variables at the same time in making this next round. So I changed the stitch count to bring the size back down to the original pattern, but then I also changed the fact that it's on double point needles instead of straight needles. So I'm wondering, I'm a little bit nervous if my tension is going to be better on the double point needles, just because I'm more familiar with them, and it's with the double point needles there's less of a sliding it up and down the needle to stretch it out. So anyhow, stay tuned on more drama with the Land Agent needles, Land Agent mittens on my circular needles. Yeah, I've gotten to the point where I'm so over them I don't want to be knitting them anymore, except they're for a friend who has already paid me for them. I am just so thankful that it's 80 degrees out there and he doesn't need to wear them, because I would be in a state if it were cold, like it's going to be in 2 days, and he didn't have them. So yeah, that's kind of a stressor right now. Let's talk about my other crafts. Okay, on to sewing. I told you last time that there were all of these things I wanted to get done, and because of spring break and because of everything being kind of crazy in the house, I didn't get them done. I just keep telling myself that there are people in the world who do lots of crafting, and it's because everything in their home already has a place and is never out of it, and weeds don't grow in their yard, and their dishwasher loads itself. I just don't know. I don't know how people find time to do anything ever. But anyhow, my couple of new projects, even though I'm not getting the old projects done that I've already mentioned, I'm adding new projects to the list. My sister has a friend who had a great aunt who crafted and passed away and left all of these boxes of fabric. My sister brought them to me at Christmas, and I went through them. Several of the pieces of fabric are quilting fabric, and many of them are already cut. This is one of them. If you're not in the quilting world, you would not know, but it's very popular to take a striped border print, cut it in these wedges. You cut the fabric right like so. So it's a straight strip of fabric that you cut in triangles. I don't know if that's even showing properly, but then that leaves you with 2 sets of triangles that go together for a little hexagonal placemat or candle mat or tabletop or what have you. Be a nice little place to stick my yellow teapot. So as you can see, it didn't quite work out for the lady who started the project, and she's not getting straight lines. So what I need to do is Google that, figure out what the angle really should be, and seam rip that, put that together, and that's going to be a gift for my mother-in-law, because she really, really loved that fabric when she was sitting here with me. The alternating one, which has the yellow on the outside, is going to be for me, because I think it would be beautiful with my teapot on top of it. I have a blue Delft teapot and a yellow teapot, so I think that those would be simply stunning. That is on the list of things that I want to sew up, and ideally that wouldn't take me very long if I could just get some committed time, an afternoon. like an afternoon like this right here. Julian's at work. It's Friday. I got up and drove 30 minutes to shovel horse manure onto the back of the truck to take care of the yard, put in our flower beds, those sorts of things. And he did not go with me because it is Friday and he's working. And so I rushed back home, showered, ran in and had lunch with him, as sometimes I do on Fridays. And he said, "Oh, honey, it's okay. I'll be home in 2.5 hours. I'll unload it from the truck. Just go home and relax." Pretty much because I can't do anything but relax and film this podcast because my arms don't move and my back is sore and my abs are shot. So anyhow, this would be the perfect time to be sewing, but I am videotaping a podcast and telling you about sewing. Anyhow, there's another sewing project that I really want to get done before Easter. I've always had an Easter dress. I've always had a new dress for Easter since I was a little girl, and so I am weirdly obsessed with the Easter dress and the new outfit and all that sort of thing. But really, when you don't outgrow your shoes every year, it's kind of silly to get new shoes and a new dress every year for Easter. So I am, working through this childhood baggage of the Easter dress and hoping to sew myself something new. I have this shoe and I love it and it makes me feel very springy. I have another one that goes just like it on the other foot. I have this newly acquired fabric. What do you know? That looks great with this shoe. The only problem is I've got 2 1/8 yards. This is fabric, like most of the things that I buy. This is fabric that I've admired for a long, long time. It was on the sale rack at my local quilt shop. It was 20% off because it was the end of the bolt, so I couldn't get any more than 2 1/4 yards. So now my problem is I don't know what I can do with it. It's just shy of enough to make myself a dress. If I do make myself a top, I would like something a little more fitted. I know that a tunic is very easy to crank out. But I don't want to feel frumpy for Easter if I wear a pair of slacks and a top. I would like for it to be a little more fitted of a top. So if you can think of a pattern for a top that would look nice in a dot print, metallic dot print, and would go with a little pair of white cigarette pants and these shoes for Easter, please let me know, because I'm combing the interweb and can't seem to find something that I would like, because I really am a huge fan of these blousey, empire-waisted tunic top type things. That's just not really what I'm going for on Sunday morning. So if you can think of a pattern that would use that, please let me know. Now, last things last. I did want to talk a little bit about books, but I also wanted to talk about a movie that I watched. Well, I'll talk about books first, and then I'll talk about the movie. So if you don't want to hear about the movie, you can turn it off, and I'll just see you next time. Books. I was reading Blackbird House last time I did a podcast. Then I felt really silly about what I'd said about it, because I said, oh, it's set in, colonial America, blah, blah, blah. Well, really, just the first 10 pages are in colonial America. I never read what's on the back of the book because I have absolutely zero tolerance for spoilers, for details, for anything. If I read something about a book beforehand, it sets my mind down this path where I either don't enjoy it as much because I knew what was coming already, or it really stresses me out because I have this preconceived notion of what's coming, and then the book doesn't do that at all. So I kind of feel like this thing lied to me. Anyhow, I don't read the backs of books before I read the book. Had I done that, I would realize that it is really just, it's not a story of people so much as it's a story of the house. And so it's the story of the same house and different families who live in it over the span of 200 years, 300 years maybe. So when I realized this, like the 4th chapter, I'm sitting here thinking, I am so confused. How if we just skipped, in 45 minutes we've spanned 57 years or something ridiculous, listening to it on audio. And then I realized what was happening, and that the book is really all about the house, yes, it's about the people, but it's about the house. I said to myself, okay, hold on. This is good, but I need to go back and start from the beginning if I'm gonna really, really get what's going on here. So I decided to stop and go back to the beginning, and then I had to return the library book. So then I just moved right on to The Miniaturist. The Miniaturist, I think it's really good. It's been on my to-read list for a long time. I had to wait my turn. I think it's good. It's about a woman who is living with her husband and sister-in-law and house staff. Her husband's a wealthy spice trader in Amsterdam. It is sort of an arranged marriage, society marriage. She's 18, he's 39, and he is not an affectionate person. So it is the story of her kind of finding her bearings in this new situation, new atmosphere. And I'm liking it. I have no idea at all where it's going to go. But it's called The Miniaturist because as a wedding gift, the husband gives Nella a dollhouse, a miniature replica, completely perfect miniature replica of their house. And he says, here you go, fill it up. Which she takes as an offense because it's a child's play thing. But anyhow, she gets over it, I think. So that's what I'm reading. So last, I wanted to mention a movie that I watched. I watched Temple Grandin, and I don't know if you've seen it. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's not a new movie. It's Claire Danes portraying a woman, Temple Grandin, real story. The whole thing's a real story. Temple Grandin is an autistic woman who is now a professor, has been a professor for many years. Oh, gosh, I should have researched this more. I assume she's still working, living. But anyhow, it's the story of a girl who in the 50s and 60s is growing up with autism. And she invents the hugging machine, and she sort of, she is the first person in the world of autism to realize that autistic children cannot handle the social interaction of being hugged, but still require the physical sensation of being hugged. That there are two components to a hug: the person hugging you and the actual physical feeling, compression of your body. So she invents, after spending the summer on her uncle's cattle ranch, she invents a hug machine. And it changes her life, and she goes on to do things that she never thought were possible, and she ends up, Google her, gosh, she ends up doing really insane things. She changed the way the U.S. Mass-produced beef, which is not at all what I was expecting when I'm watching this movie. This blonde, curly-haired girl thinking, oh, this is going to be about slaughterhouses. All of this is to say, I think you need to watch the movie, but you need to know up front that it's about how an autistic girl changed the slaughterhouse industry in America in the 60s. So there are a lot of unpleasant things that come along with all of those themes that make you cry and make you want to close your eyes and make you not want to watch anymore. But I think it's a movie that you should watch for lots of different reasons. It's on Amazon Prime right now for free. If you have an Amazon Prime membership, you have no excuse. You just need 2 hours and a box of tissues, and yeah, do that. So anyhow, I've got 1 hour left of my afternoon to relax before I have to get the horse manure that's on the back of the truck off the truck. And so I am going to grab my sock and sit down with my computer and watch the Blue Stocking podcast that is new. And yeah, that's what I'm going to do with my afternoon. I don't know what you're going to do with your afternoon, but I hope it's a great one. And I hope you subscribe to my channel and like my video if you like it. And stay tuned for more good things, because I am cooking up some ideas in this head of mine, and I'm excited about them. I just need to get myself a little more organized, get the planning underway, get the stinking hallway painted, get a shower curtain up, and have some Easter before we can unroll more ideas and big thoughts and complete a stinking project. So anyhow, I hope you have a great weekend. If you're seeing this on the weekend, great week if you're seeing it on the week. And thanks for joining me. Have a good day.